Awesome. Awesome. Are you ready to dive in?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sweet. All right, cool. So, hey everyone, Andrew here, otherwise known as that guy who wrote the last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read. And today I am pumped. I'm actually using my YouTube channel as an excuse to talk to one of my favorite people that I met over Facebook, Britney Taylor, who is an awesome Law of Attraction teacher in her own right. And um, we're going to get to everything, but basically, you're looking at someone right now who manifested the man of her dreams and motherhood all in less than a year. And, there's no requirement that anyone specifically do that. But when you find someone that's done that, who wouldn't want to chat it up with them and get their perspective, see the approach that they took through their understanding of the law of attraction, and see what kind of value or insight you can glean from that. So, Brittany, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to my awesome Law of Attraction YouTube channel. And hi, how are you?
Hi, Andrew. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm just so excited to talk about the law of attraction with you and to just talk with you. Um, yeah, this is just my favorite thing to do, really. So I'm
And
excited.
the cool thing about you is like I've seen you'll do like Facebook lives and maybe they'll go 10 minutes or maybe they'll go an hour. You
Oh, yeah.
just kind of, you hit the play, the record button and you just go off in your own way, kind of like stream of thought, which I
Totally.
absolutely love. I love when someone, it says a lot about them. Not that anyone should have to speak long, but when they're able to do it effortlessly and flawlessly, you know that they're living and breathing what they preach, and it isn't just some kind of thing that they're throwing out there to impress people. Like
Yeah.
it's legit. And I've always enjoyed those times when I kind of find you going live and I kind of pop on and see what's up. And this whole thing about, you finding the man of your dreams and you becoming a mother, this kind of came soon after you kind of ended up on my radar. And it was just such a really fun process to see unfold and to see your updates and to see things go in a certain way. And I was curious, from a law of attraction perspective, because I know you teach this stuff, is there a way that you can define how much, prep or how much work went in before these things were even unfolding for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, I started studying the law of attraction quite early on. Um, and I started wanting a relationship with a man, like with my dream man. And I started wanting a baby probably about 4 years ago. But I think it was about yeah, probably 1 year ago was when I met him and we got together and we decided to have a baby straight away. But it probably was like a year before that, yeah, where I just really started like living it, right? So it's one thing to know about the law of attraction, to have watched The Secret, and for me, Abraham Hicks were one of my big teachers, and it's one thing to kind of know about that consciously, but I think it's really when you start living it and being it and breathing it in all areas of your life where things will really start to pop and manifest for you, right? And so it was really about a year ago when I really had that experience where it was like all the things that I had been wanting for so long just kind of like popped into my life, and one of them being the dream man. And then that the ease of that relationship, like sometimes when you start a relationship it feels like you're really nervous or you're just not sure if they like you, and there's this neediness or there's these weird vibes, right? And with this relationship it was really different. It was really just easy and it just happened naturally, and I can really thank like the law of attraction for that, because I really wanted it to be like that. I wrote about it, like how it would happen, and yeah, it was just really a beautiful experience. And I really have to thank like my teachings, like and what I've learned about the law of attraction for that, because I just kind of decided that's how I wanted it to happen. And that's what I really like want people to know, is that I see so many people, they seem to be in victim consciousness around their relationships, right? Like they're like, oh, men are like this, or dating is just hard for me. It's so hard for me to find the one, or it's hard for me to find the one who wants what I want. And really, you can just like opt out of that by understanding these teachings and mastering your energy to call in like the perfect experience. Yeah, it's just I'm so grateful for this work.
Awesome. Awesome. So just out of curiosity, you meet this guy. When you met him, was it a thing where you knew right away, or you knew a day later, or you knew within a week? Like, when did it occur to you, or did you get that realization of, wow, this is the dude that I was, scripting about, or this is the dude I was thinking about. This is the direction I always was thinking I was taking.
Yeah, so I actually had met him like when I was a teenager, and we'd kind of been in the same, like I'd known about him for a few years, because his family owns a restaurant and we would go to this restaurant. And so I kind of had known him. He had been like a friend on my Facebook for a couple of years, but I didn't know anything at that point. He was just kind of another face, right? And but what really, yeah, when it really happened is we went down to the restaurant, me and my mom, and something just clicked in me when I saw him that particular time. I was like, something about this guy. I really felt like I wanted to get to know him. I felt a strong attraction. I felt like, yeah, just that he would be a good guy for me to hang out with and know. But I didn't think like it was going to be everything. I just thought, oh, here's another guy that I'm going to talk to, or I want to talk to, right? And the funny thing about that is, like, we sort of talked that day, but he didn't respond to my first few messages. And I like to share this story because I feel like a lot of women really have this fear of, sending a guy a message first. And in my case, I was wondering what happened there, because I felt like I was an expert of this stuff, the law of attraction and relationships. I was so good at manifesting men, right? And this guy, he kind of, yeah, he did not respond to me right away. And I thought, that's so weird, because I was really sure that there was something here to be explored, right? And so that was kind of funny. I feel like the reason that happened was so that I could talk about it to other women and like teach them that even if sometimes, like, at the beginning you don't know what is happening with a guy, right? Like sometimes we can be so confused about like, what's he thinking, what's he feeling, like even in those situations it can still work out for you if you have the right energy behind it. Like I didn't have any neediness behind this. Like I wasn't needing a relationship at this point, because with the law of attraction, I had already manifested, like I was going on a dream trip to New York, like around that time as well. I was meeting one of my favorite mentors, Katrina Ruth. And like prior to that, I had manifested other travel too, like when I went to Vegas and saw Mitch Miller, who is actually how I got connected with you as well. So I was already like living out many of my life's dreams, one of them being the travel thing. So the man thing, I kind of put it on the back burner, like it was like done, and I really feel like that was why I was able to manifest so easily. So he did eventually talk to me a few weeks later when it was like perfectly aligned, and yeah, it just happened really naturally after that point. But at the very beginning, it didn't happen totally naturally. It was like kind of a weird experience for me, and I really think it's because I like it when things don't happen totally perfectly, right? Because it's a better story, And I love to talk about the story of how we met and how I knew something, and then he didn't talk to me first in the way that I expected. So that was really funny.
So real quick, did you guys ever talk about like the elephant in the room? Like, dude, what were you doing these past times?
Yeah. So we did, and he just said he was like really thinking about what to say. Like he hadn't had a girlfriend for a while, and he kind of like felt something. He was wondering like what exactly to say, and he said that is what he was thinking about.
Cool. So
yeah.
I'm glad I asked that. I'm listening really close as you're describing this, and I'm getting a couple of things that really stand out to me. Well, first of all, this isn't really a law of attraction teaching, but I kind of, ascribe to the theory that like what people think of you isn't really your business, because it's the only thing it's going to do is going to kind of like muddle the way you respond, the way you behave. And if all you're doing is like being a good person and not being overly attached to outcomes, like you don't want any of that extra nonsense anyway. But another cool thing that you talked about here is like some people, whether it's a woman or a man, excuse me, they might reach out and not hear something back. And it's very easy to put meaning in there, like, oh, I'm rejected, or oh, they don't want me. Or meanwhile, he's just so like, I'm not using a fair word, but just insecure about what the move is, that's where the delay is coming from. And if only he could think of what to do, would he have moved faster? But the most important thing that really stood out to me from a law of attraction standpoint here, and this is true of everybody, but it really is magnified by the fact that you knew this person beforehand, is for everyone out there who's like looking for their dream man or their dream woman or whatever, it's a reminder that this person that you want is actually alive right now. They're 5 hours from now, they're going to be in their bathroom brushing their teeth. Tomorrow, they're going to be pouring a bowl of Cheerios. Like, they are real, alive in this world right now, eating their Cheerios, saying, when am I going to meet my person, waiting for you? And I think it's a really important thing to highlight and to always keep in mind when you're going through a process, whether it's a law of attraction manifestation method or just about your day, knowing that that person is living, breathing right now, and they're thinking of you and wanting you just as much as you want them.
Totally. And another thing too that I see comes up with like some of my clients with this is that they feel like all of the men that they would want are, you know, far away or on the other side of the world or something like that. And I do feel like sometimes we do have soulmates who we will travel and meet, but I also feel that you have many soulmates right around you. Like, it could be someone that you walk by every day, like on your way to work, like if you walk, or like at your Starbucks that you go to every day, like he could be right there, but you might never know that it's them unless you know, have the right energy to attract them. So that's what I like to teach on too, is like, they are there and sometimes they're right in front of your face.
You know, it's so funny hearing you say that it reminded me of a conversation I had with my friend AJ reasonably recently, where he less than a year ago, he went to Brazil and he like slipped and fell and like severely injured himself.
Oh
And
no.
his friends, like, you know, they pick him up and he had to go back to the States and get surgery and this and that. But he kind of like talked about this on Instagram. And there was a girl who was following him, who was from Brazil, who saw that he, like, his trip was basically ruined. And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, you have to go through this. Like, maybe I can, like, you know, give you a Brazil cooked meal and, you know, help make up for it. So he invites her over, they meet eyes, and all of a sudden, like, they've been together for months and she's his dream girl. And the really funny thing is, when he told me this story, I interpreted as she like flew over from Brazil. But no, no, no. She was actually like 20 minutes away, and she was 20 minutes away for years. And it was just that situation that prompted the move, where gave her the excuse to reach out, which, by the way, he'd been going through this process of like looking in the mirror and saying, I love myself over and over and over again, which I
That's
think is just another law of attraction method of you're just raising your vibration. But your story, I want to bring that up because I think it is so cool that, you know, you don't know if they're across the world. You don't know if your friend thinks they're across the world and they're really 20 minutes away. Like, you don't know, but there's so many possibilities out there that people never really think, because there's so much quicker oftentimes to think of the limits rather than thinking of the limitless possibilities.
exactly. Yeah. And like, especially when, you know, you've been hurt in love before, you have this tendency to, it's almost like, not that they want to push it away or think that it's far away, but sometimes you can have so many fears around love that you unconsciously do that, where you think like, oh, my soulmate must be on the other side of the world, or yeah, like not wanting to talk to me. That's another thing people do, is they just think that they're being rejected when in reality they're not. It's just their fears of having an actual relationship that make it seem like that.
Mhm. Yes. Now, I'm going to make an assumption about you, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, please. But I'm assuming, like, when you met him and it kind of felt right, you you kind of let the momentum carry you, and you didn't all of a sudden make up stuff in your head why it won't work out. But instead, you're like, no, no, this feels perfectly natural. There's nothing wrong here. I'm gonna roll with this. Is that a correct assumption?
Yeah, totally. And I wasn't too worried about it in general, because like I said before, I was having so much fun in my life at the time, which I really think is key as women too, is that we are in a good place in our own lives when we do this manifesting work, because it's all part of it, right? So yeah, I was just really having fun in my life. I wasn't actually thinking too seriously about the relationship. I was just like, this feels natural, this feels fun, this feels exciting, and hey, this feels like something that could be my dream. But I wasn't like just going crazy over it like all day long, thinking like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, like, and planning all these things, or planning all these things that are going to go wrong. Because I just didn't really care. Things were so good, right? So I really feel like when things are good, you kind of have this natural expectation that things just flow easily, right? And then they
Yeah,
do.
it's kind of like, you get a job, you get a raise. Well, then that weekly paycheck is just bigger, and you're not freaking out being like, is the paycheck going to be the same next week? Like, no, listen, you got the
No.
promotion, you got the raise. Now you're living through it. Now it's just real, regular life.
Yeah, I love that way of putting it. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Now, obviously I'm sure people are going to be watching this, and I try to crawl into the minds of my readers and my viewers. And I have this understanding and this assumption, and I'm sure you've seen this with your clients also. They want to know exactly how to do it. And the only way that they usually can do it is by modeling. So even though I personally never recommend people hold themselves up to the standard of someone else, I'm sure people watching this, hearing your story, are dying of curiosity of like, okay, what did Brittany do exactly? So if I can ask, like, to share like part of your process, whether it was scripting or it was a certain visualization, like what did you do and how often did you do it? Was it a daily thing? Was it an hourly thing? And what exactly was the process, if you don't mind sharing it?
So the first thing really is to just know what you want, right? And like a lot of people just aren't really clear on the kind of relationship they want, or the kind of man they want to attract. Like, so the first thing is really just to get clear, like, what do I actually want in this area of my life, right? In regards to the love stuff, and write it out, journal about it, and spend some time daily from then on, once you're clear, getting in that feeling place of that relationship that you want. And that's really like the most basic way to teach it. But in that process, what you'll find, like what I found happened first when I first became clear about the kind of relationship that I want, is I was confronted with all of the reasons why maybe that wouldn't happen. Like the fears come up, right? Because when you have that first moment of clarity, I really feel like, because I teach on soul stuff too, I feel like it's your soul showing you all the blocks that you may have to it. And sometimes you'll kind of have to reframe those for a bit first. And that could take, it's different for everybody, how long that takes. And then you can come back to your vision and it will seem more believable and it will seem more real. And once the vision is real in your head, like you believe more than your current reality, you believe that you are living in the reality with your soulmate, then it will happen quickly. But sometimes people get stuck in the process of removing those fears and why it won't happen and why, like, all these things, right? But if you can really just be in the energy of it's already happened, like that's something that I did too, like every night before bed, just for like the pure joy of it, I would just get in the vibe of my dream relationship and how that would feel. And even so much as like I had a picture of like my dream engagement ring on my wall and I would look at it every night and I would just imagine like how that would feel to wear that, like even so much to actually feel it like on my finger and like get in those feeling vibes of it. And I would do that so often that that reality felt more real than the reality where I was meeting men who didn't want anything serious or didn't want to get married or didn't want to have a baby. Like, and it was almost like I was still living in real life, but the vision felt more real than the external reality that I was currently living in. And then from that point on, that's when it happened really quickly.
Now, were you playing out scenes in your head of this happening, or were you just like visualizing the ring on your finger? Because I mean, I get that you were feeling it, a mental process that you went through consciously or intentionally to help push those feelings, whether it was through a visualization or anything else that, again, people might be able to glean on and try to piggyback on and try for themselves.
Yeah, I definitely had some ideas in my head of the way things would happen. But even those, like the way that it happened actually was better than those scenes that I put in my head. So sometimes that's another thing. The universe has a better plan for you than you would even imagine. So yeah, I did have little scenes of things like in fantasies, right? Like I've always been a person who's very much fantasizing about things. So I would do that. I would visualize like going out for dinner or doing certain things with this dream man, like just things that would feel good to me, right? But then, yeah, when it did actually happen, I feel like those visualizations were not even as good as what it actually ended up being. And it's because like it's more important to be in those feelings, and then you will draw those experiences like through those feelings, right?
Mhm.
Than the actual like specifics of it.
So I'm glad you brought that up because I think sometimes people need to hear. Um, it's such a great reminder that the universe has a better plan, because I think when people can really accept that and really embrace that, they take a lot of pressure off themselves to have the perfect visualization and to
Yeah,
even have the perfect feelings. Like, obviously you and I teach in different styles, and some of our stuff probably really meshes and some of it's a little diversion. Mine, I tell people, like, it's really about having a rough idea of what it might feel like without too much of an attachment to it, because you never know where the universe might hitch onto it, and you never should feel that obligation to feel it perfectly, because it's going to be different and most likely better anyway. So you might as well expect it to know, like, whatever I'm feeling right now, whether it's a lot or a little, it's going to be better anyway. So I might as well not stress it.
I love that. And I think that's perfect for people who like have a harder time to get into those feeling states,
Yes.
right? Especially even like men too. Like I feel like for me it was easy to be in those feelings because I'm just such an emotional kind of person. But I do totally love what you're saying, because yeah, sometimes it's going to be hard to like get that exact feeling. And you're right, it can be so much better than even what you are thinking it's going to be or feeling out. So
Yeah.
love
And
that.
and I mean, we'll talk about your son in a bit, but and I don't want to speak for you, but I could pretty much guarantee that the love that you feel for him and the connection that you're experiencing now is probably way better than what you were thinking it was going to be.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. One other piece before moving on to that is just, my advice for people, because as I was hearing you speaking, I'm like, I wonder if there's any extra things I want to impart for people. I always suggest for people that can write, when they script and they journal and they're writing what they want in the present tense as if they have it already. I think oftentimes people forget that by virtue of writing it down and doing it, you're visualizing it, even if you don't realize you're visualizing it, and you
Oh,
are experiencing feelings, even if you don't, if you know that they're not like in your face or too powerful. A lot of times you're giving yourself what you need, and therefore the universe the blueprints that it needs, just by engaging in those simple processes.
totally. Yeah. I
Awesome.
love it. You make it so easy.
Thank you. Hey, I try.
Yeah.
Hence the book, right? That's
I,
actually the
yeah.
whole goal, is try to make it digestible so people can dive in and actually make it happen.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your son, who is adorable. Like, I love the stuff that you share on social media. Um, what was that like when you found out you were expecting? Was that another thing where like your mind was blown, or was it a situation like, nah, this was pretty much, I was kind of expecting this for like a week or two anyway. Like, what was your visceral feeling as you were getting that news?
That's a really good question. I don't think I've ever been asked that. I love it. Yeah. So when it was happening, like, probably a few weeks before, I really wanted it. And I was like kind of going to bed at night praying, like, okay, I hope this works, because I do really want this. And I fit with this guy and it just feels really right. Like this is the right thing. And so I was kind of like going to bed at night, like praying and wishing, but still in joy, like not in this wishing energy of like, I can't have it, but just in this like excited wishing, praying, like, yay, let's do this vibe.
Mm.
But then, yeah, about a month later, like I just thought, well, there's no way it could be that easy. I went back into old like thought patterns of like where things are hard and it takes a really long time, and so many people, they try for months and months and months and years even before they ever get pregnant. And so I went kind of back into that, and I thought, oh, there's no way that it could have just happened that easily, first try, right? Like I went back into that thinking. um and then, well, when you get pregnant, you notice things right away in your emotions. I started to be a little bit more grumpy than usual, and I had actually other people around me, my mom being like, think you're pregnant. You're kind of like acting like a, and I'm like, there's no way, like it couldn't happen that easily, right? And so, but then I was, and I found out that I was shortly after that. So I guess I really wanted it, and I prayed for it, and I knew, and even someone like me who knows how this works, right? It was so easy to go back into, well, it couldn't be that easy, could it? Right? Like it couldn't just be the first try, like there it is, right? Like I thought that it was going to take longer than it did. So that was kind of my feeling about it, which really shows like how easy things can happen when you do want them and there's no resistance anymore. Like you're just purely there, pure desire, right?
Yeah. And, you know, there's a number of ways to even interpret what you said there, because like when I hear you saying that you expected it to take longer, there's almost a relief and a release of resistance, because it doesn't, since it doesn't have to happen now, there's like an opening there where like if it didn't happen, you're not freaking out.
No, I wouldn't have been, because I wasn't expecting it to just be instantly. And I guess, you know, that's where needy energy comes in, when people need it to happen this time right away. Like, you know, need the money now, need the soulmate now. Like that's when we kind of push it away.
Right. And you had an advantage. And I say that in the sense that I think anytime people can find an advantage, they want to use that. They want to leverage that. And what I think your advantage was, is you were already in this wonderful relationship. So you were already happy. You were already in a mode where, like, of course, you're going to experience these moments of happiness and bliss and joy and fulfillment. So you might as well, like, if people out there, they don't have the relationship, but they've got the great job, it's like, okay, cool. Be grateful for the great job. Or vice versa, you know, or if you've got the one kid, but you really want another one, be grateful for that. Like wherever you can be grateful, whatever you can latch on to have happiness and ease and joy in that moment, that's going to keep things loose enough to really open that pathway for the universe to find you for all the other stuff that you want already.
So true. And like that month and the, you know, the joy of that relationship was one of my biggest months in business at that date as well. So it was kind of like when I took the focus off trying to make sales, trying to make money and all that, it was like, it just came very easily. So it's so true that, yeah, when you have something good going for you, if you really just like milk it, like Abraham Hicks would say, they say like milk the good feelings, all the other things that you've been wanting for so long manifest too.
I love it. I love it. Awesome. So just because you brought up business, I guess, you know, just to share with people listening, because you do teach law of attraction, but that's me putting words in your mouth. How would you describe what you do and what your business is?
So I help women manifest their dream lives, really. And through the law of attraction, through soul healing and soul work. I've also been a Reiki healer for like 7 years. So I feel like healing energy is just a part of everything that I do as well. But yeah, just really, I teach women and men too. I have some courses that are available to men to come back to their souls and manifest their dreams through that place.
Awesome. I love it. Cool. So obviously we're you know, walking a certain train of thought here, and we're exploring and we're diving into really cool topics here. And now we're on the subject of what you're doing. Based on the flow of this conversation, which then kind of informs you of my audience and what people can kind of expect, not to put you on the spot, but what do you think is the best insight or advice that you might want to share with people that are listening to this, just based on your experience with motherhood, with meeting the man of your dreams, with the law of attraction, with your life, with business, with anything that you really want to focus on as you impart something?
So yeah, my biggest thing that I would want everybody to know right now is just like, it's so easy to watch something like this and think, well, she did it or he did it and like they figured out how to use the law of attraction. But for me, everything is just harder, and like all of these reasons why, you know, they can't do it, right? And so I really just want people to know, like, I thought that too. I thought that everything was harder for me, that heartbreak was just the only way for me, and sadness and like not living my dreams. I thought that was normal, right? And if you're in that place, you can change that with the law of attraction and manifest your dreams, whatever they are, whatever age you are, whatever you look like, whatever fears or insecurities you have going on, like you can manifest your dreams too. So like really listen to what we're saying. This applies to you too, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not just the person they see on the screen. It really can be them also. And really, I would say whether it's me or you or anybody else that they view and they see a success story, they shouldn't be viewing that as someone else. They should be viewing it as a future reflection, or, something that's really more in line with what's going to go for them.
Yeah, I love that. And like an Abraham Hicks teaching that I always think of is like, you wouldn't be able to see that quality in them if it wasn't also in you, because we're always attracting, other aspects of our own self, right? So I like to remind people of that.
Yes, I love it. And also just, while we're on topic, I'll remind people, my journey and all the things happening that happen good for me or it's different. But when I had my biggest, aha moment and biggest, success with the law of attraction, it was coming off, a huge, took a huge L, huge loss, losing both the relationship and the business, where I just became stubborn. And I'm like, I don't care what happens. I don't care how life improves or what. I'm going to commit to doing these methods that I know. And it doesn't matter when or how it gets better. I'm just doing this because I've had it. So everyone, that doesn't sound like something you went through, and it doesn't necessarily sound like something anyone else has to go through. But I just want to throw in that different perspective, because there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way for this to happen. There's more than one way to catch momentum and make things work, and have things play out the right way for anyone listening to this. So I wanted to throw that on the fire as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I think when you're in that place too, people don't realize the power in that place when you are just done with everything. Like there's a lot of momentum going when you're there. And sometimes I don't want to say this for everybody, but sometimes it can be easier to manifest from that place of being just so done with everything, right? Than when you have like already some momentum going. It's like, to manifest the rest of your dreams, it's almost like when you're in that place of I'm so done with everything, it just, you can boom, go into the dream so quickly. I've noticed.
Yeah. And this isn't the only way it happens, but it's almost like the statement, like when you've had it, that's how you know when you're ready to have it. Because it's like, all right, I refuse to lose. I refuse to let anything stop me from doing this. And I don't care when or how. I'm not even attached to the outcome. I'm doing something, and I'm inviting better and more from the universe, however it chooses to come.
Totally. A lot of power there.
Yes. Awesome. Cool. So before we let you go, if people want to find out more about you, or they want to connect with you or learn from you, what is the best way for them to do that?
So you can find me on my website, The Joy of Living Online, or actually I think it's just joyoflivingonline.com, or it might be .net. Shoot, I don't even know my own website. I'll get that to you. But
good news is you're going to give me the link after we're done here, and I'll put it in the description of the YouTube video also. So people will have the link either way.
And then if people want to talk to me like in a more interactive way, I am on Instagram, the Britney Taylor, and Facebook, Britney Taylor, all the time. I'm on there every day. So
sweet. Awesome. Well, Britney Taylor, you are awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective and sharing your story and giving people out there a glimpse of yet another way this can or will happen for somebody else, because that's the number one thing. This is why I'm so grateful for these kinds of conversations. I want people to see other people doing it that have been successful, that it works, and it can work, and it will work. So thank you for being a living, shining example for that, and for being here and sharing your wisdom with us.
And thank you so much too. Like, I just love to see other amazing people talking about this stuff and getting it out there. Like, I feel like we are on the same team in this world. So thank you so much for having me, and I'm grateful for you.